can also be used to pull your grandson. All right, so here's one of them done. As you can see, I'm still on the epoxy. It's got to cure for a while, but it's, you know, it's set up. So that's the eye bolt end, and here is the other end, the end that will hook to the backpack. This one turned out really good. Notice you got to have it nice and straight. From the eye bolt needs to be lined up with the tie rod end. I don't know if you can see that on there. You want them to be aligned. You wouldn't want this one turned over that way, because this is going to hook to the backpack, and this is going to hook to the sled. So the other one didn't turn out quite so well. You can see the end there. A little bit, this one I had a hard time getting in all the way. You can see the bulge around the end. So this was the first one, and I learned a couple things. I think this was the first one, I don't remember. But make sure that make sure that it's hot enough. I think that's what my problem was that it wasn't hot enough on some of them. But the biggest thing was the way I was trying to insert it. So I was trying to insert it at an angle like this, which made it difficult. I found that if it was straight up like that, I just rested it on something I've got over there, that just about at eye level, then I could see where to center the bolt, the nut and the bolt in it, and start centered and then just slide it in. This one wasn't centered, and so it ended up bulging out on this side. You know, I'm not going for beautiful, I'm going for working, and it should work fine. I don't think they'll pull out. If they do, then I'll just cut it down by, just cut it down a little bit and do it over on these. And I've got room to spare. I decided to go with 6 foot because that's the standard. Plus, when I'm cross-country skiing, I didn't want the skis to kick into the back of the sled. So having this 6 feet out behind me, having the sled out that far, will give plenty of room for my skis to come back. From the tip of my toe to the back of my ski is 3 feet. And so when I'm back another couple feet, I'm at 5. And so that'll give me about a foot to spare. So that's pretty much what you do to get these right. I mean, to make your own poles. I'm going to beautify these. There's a fancy word for you. Beautify. Can you say beautify? I'm going to beautify these. Magic. How did that appear into my hand? Just like that. I'm contemplating putting these on. This is heat shrink, 1 inch. I think that's 1 inch. Is it 1 inch? Yeah, that's 1 inch. Wow. 1 inch heat shrink that I bought for something else. And I had a whole bunch of it that I used for another project for my art show display stuff. And I've got ends left over. And I think what I might do is I'm going to paint, not paint, but I'm going to coat these with, it's downstairs, with liquid dip stuff. You buy it in a can, and I got white. It's literally like Rhino liner. Bought it at Home Depot. I think they could liquid dip. It's a plastic dip, but you get it in a spray can, and I'm going to coat these with that. This is part of the reason you use the Schedule 80 is this is UV inhibited. I mean, it stands up really well in the sunlight. But I'm going to coat these with that plastic spray, which will make them white. We'll cover up this ugly PVC look, and I'm probably going to coat the hardware too. At least these, the eye bolts, I'm probably going to coat so that they're not rattling. There's not going to be much rattle, but they're not rattling in the harness. I may coat the other end. I don't want the ball joint to get all gummed up though, so I may just cover the ball joint with some tape and then coat that end. That's not as big of a deal though. Anyway, so I'm going to spray coat them with the all the metal components too. The metal stuff that I put on the sleigh, I'm going to spray that so that it'll help it stop from rusting. And then I may put these on. Just slide this over. That will be a little bit of a fit, but I could get it on there. Slide this over, have it, that one's not quite cured well enough. Basically, get it down on there like that and pull it up tight against the bottom, and then you just hit it with the heat gun or lightly with the blowtorch and it shrinks right up tight. That would just make it look, I think, a little bit better, a little bit more professional, and it will help seal the end. Because this stuff will shrink in tight around the end. It'll help seal the end where the epoxy is better. I mean, not that, it needs to be a ton better. The epoxy, when it sets up, is going to be really good. But that's what I'm going to do to beautify them. Beautify. Can you say beautify? All right, so you can see I've got these PULK pulling poles done. Say that 3 times really fast. And I ended up putting on the black heat shrink tubing. You can see it right there. And shrunk it down. I also put on rubber spray coating. It's a Flex Seal that I bought at Home Depot. Just a nice black Flex Seal coating. You can see it right there. Just to protect them so there's not so much rattling. And this is the end that will go to the right up against the pack. That you can see, that I covered that. In putting the heat shrinking on here, you can see how nice and tight I got it. Just put it right up against there and shrunk it down on the side that goes to the PULK. You can see right there I brought it up high and let it shrink down in around there. I taped these up so that they wouldn't get the paint on them. You can see that. I taped those up so they wouldn't get the paint on them. And then in the process of spraying these, of painting that, I ended up getting some of the black rubber spray seal stuff on my poles. Now I had put 4 coats of white spray plastic coat on these poles, and it still didn't look very good. It was flaking off, and well, it would chip off easily, would come off. And so the process of doing that, of spraying that, I got some up here which wasn't a problem, and some of it flaked on here. So I ended up just taking it and just spraying some on there, kind of a speckled coating. Got it a little bit uneven in places, but I didn't really care. It's a lot hardier. It's got more give to it, and it's not going to flake off as easy. Transporting them was chipping off. The white stuff was just chipping off sometimes. So I don't mind having them black, because now when I drop these in the snow, I'll be able to find them rather than going, where'd it go? So these are my pulling poles. I got these things done. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I've heard some reports from people that using PVC is bad, especially if it gets really cold. I think they were using Schedule 40. This is Schedule 80. It's really thick wall, and it might get brittle if they, if it's really, really cold sub-zero temperatures and I try to bend them a lot. But I don't know. We'll see. It's designed to be outside, and I know PVC can get brittle, but we'll see. And if they snap on me, I'll fix them. I'll always have a little saw with me. I always carry a little saw, and I'll take some fittings, that I can just slide on there if I need to. But so there's my pulls, done and ready to go pull. So another step for this is to make a fin. A fin will go on the back to prevent the sled from sliding side to side like that while you're pulling it, especially up and down hill and on surfaces that are not completely flat. Some people will put a fin in the inside. They'll cut a slit and put fins, like 2 fins, one on each side. Some will have it on the outside where it flips down. I've decided to make fins out of this. A hinge and a hinge. This is a basic gate hinge. This is a basic door hinge. So you can see I've drawn the outline that I want to cut out there on this. And what I'm going to do is cut that out with my Dremel and a hacksaw, and to where I have a shape that is like that. And then this is going to mount to the sled, basically like that. It'll fold up and down. This is going to, I'll pop the pin out of this hinge, and it will fit right there and will turn into a fin that will fold up, lock in place with, it'll just fold up and sit in place, or fold down, and it'll fold down. It'll be sitting like that with the magnet that'll hold it in place. All right. Here's my finished fin, as you can see. So the nice thing about this is the couple holes there will be good for putting a ski pole end in, snowshoeing pole end, or ski pole end in to help flip it up or down if I want to retract it or extend it. So how this is going to go on, like I said, this is going to mount like that, right there, with a bolt and a wing nut, and then just bolt on the sleigh, and it'll fold up and down. So I'm going to install it, show you how it's going to look installed. So there you go. That'll fold up out of the way like that for transport. Coming down like that. To stop it from moving, I'm going to use some magnets. I'm going to epoxy just some square magnets on there. Just line them up with the holes and epoxy them in place. And so then when this goes to close up, it'll latch on those magnets and will hold there. And then when I want to pop it up, just pull it away from the magnets, come up and lock it up here. Be able to actually even twist this to fold it up out of the way, just like that for transportation. So that's going to be my fin. Pretty simple, easy to do. I think it'll work. You want it to stick out a couple inches below the bottom of the sled. I've got that about 3, which it should be perfectly fine. I'm not going to be pulling this thing through really shallow snow. In most cases, it's going to be through heavy-duty snow. But even if it's through just a couple inches of snow, that should be fine. It'll help just keep it steering properly. So I'm going to probably do a few modifications. This is all outdoor hinging, so it's, rust and nuts and bolts, so it won't rust. But I may go ahead and coat it with plastic coat, just to give it more protection. And the bolt here is sticking out some in the back. I probably am going to make the hole square so that it will the lag bolt will fit in there tight, and then I can tighten this down without that turning. I've got a lock washer on the back there, but it's still wanting to turn, so I can't tighten that down really well. But other than that, I mean, just a few modifications, but that's the basic concept right there, basically as a rudder for a boat. So sorry about the glare on my head. It's warm. It's about 55 degrees up here, and I've got my PULK done, and I'm taking it out for an overnight camp out up here in the mountains. Going to be somewhere in the realm of 7,000 to 8,000 feet. It's really nice and warm, too warm actually, but let me show you my finished PULK. So there it is, loaded up, poles running up to my pack. I'm using my old school bushcrafting pack on this outing, and you can see how I've got it all strapped down. I've got a duffel bag that I bought on Amazon for like 15 bucks that just fits perfect. It's a really nice duffel bag. I'll put the link to it on here. I've got my old school snowshoes circa 1980, military surplus for deep powder. Modern snowshoes, I've got some, and when you get into really deep snow, they just don't float well. Got my chair, my mucklucks for snowshoeing in, tripod stuff strapped on there. My sweater is going to go back on my pack. My shovel. I've got cast iron cooking gear. I didn't weigh this sleigh, but it's probably every bit of 60 pounds, which sounds really heavy. But you got to carry more gear for winter, and I just kind of brought, like, I didn't need to bring my Dutch iron, my cast iron skillet and a Dutch oven, but I did so I can make dinner tonight. But so that's my finished PULK. So it turned out really well. I've pulled it a couple times already. It tracks well with my little fin. Let me show you that. So there's the fin. It just pops up and down. I originally was having it magneted down, but I just decided, you know what, just have it pop up and down. That way it sinks in as needed in the depth of snow. If I'm on ice, which some of this is icy now, it'll just slide up. It won't dig in. It won't lift the back of the PULK up and make it act funky. So that's working really well. So there we go. That's the finished thing. It wasn't that hard to build. It took some time, and took me a while to get around to finishing up the video. So come on my next adventure with me. I'm headed up to go camping for a night. So thanks for watching, and happy trails.
Across the sea, feels unhealthy, all my comrades, the butchers spotted and near. Many I get hair and pheasant and national body dear. Many of the I at the body weigh money at their command. Ought to join the roving heel and